Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Let's adjust this. There we go. All right. When you join the first video, you see all the adjustments. All right. Should you leave your stable job and go all in on aesthetics? You're seeing everyone on social media with glowing clients, luxury scrubs, and fully booked med spas. But behind the highlight reel is a much deeper conversation about timing, strategy, and sustainability. Today, I'm breaking down whether full-time aesthetics is the right move for you or just a trend that needs a reality check. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, the founder of Mahogany Dermatology Nursing Education and Research, where we're committed to increasing access to dermatology education for nurses and nurse practitioners with an emphasis on skin of color, business acumen, and digital fluency. Today, I'm doing batch content. So as an entrepreneur, I take you behind the scenes all the time. Sometimes I really don't know when I'm going to have free time to record, but what I have been consistent with is dropping you new videos every Sunday at 12:15 a.m. Central on YouTube for almost a year now, at least live. In the beginning, I didn't start live, but I've been on this channel since December of 23. And on the Mahogany Dermatology blog for 2 years. The Mel Initiative, we have our 2-year anniversary also coming up. Everything's pretty much 2 years. But yeah, as you can see by the title, we're going to get into aesthetics. We'll get into our topic, and then at the end, we'll do our weekly conversation where I give you updates on my business, my health and wellness, because I am of the belief that if you're in the business of taking care of other people, then you have to be in the business of taking care of yourself. And today you can see we have a whole different setup here. And it looked so great before I came on live. And now I don't know if I like it. And of course, the puppy's here. Hold on. Hold on, baby. Oh, come on. I don't want to see. There we go. I don't want to see that. Here we go. Okay. So first things first, we're going to do our quality improvement check. I don't even know if I like the lighting. For the next episode, I'll have to double check the lighting. But if you're here for a batch content day, you're in for a treat because you get to watch all the episodes in real time. And I get to answer your questions in real time. That's the most fun part. And then after I'm done recording, I hide them until I'm ready for them to be published. And so some of you get a head start of everyone else. So our topics for today are going to be, the 3 episodes that we're going to record today. How to stand out in a saturated market. Should you work full-time in aesthetics? And the one thing I wish every aesthetic NP would know. And so I always have to do the quality improvement check because, okay, so the microphone's working. We got that going. And then I just come on here to make sure you can see me and hear me because I've had issues in the past. And so we're going to do a quick check and make sure we're going to do it. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for holding out. So we always start with scripture and a prayer, and then we'll jump into our topic. That's part of our health and wellness because I believe I can tell you a lot of things, but I think the best way to really role model the emphasis on why it's so important that you prioritize your mental, spiritual, physical, financial health is by demonstrating that and doing that with you. And I see we already have a visitor. I can see you. So please, YouTube has a little message here. Oh, okay. Looks like YouTube has added its own moderator. I don't know what that means, but we'll find out. So let me just go to our scripture and then we'll do our little prayer and then we'll get started. And if you have questions, you can start putting those in the chat. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long, yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. That comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17. You are not alone in your struggles. Talk to God honestly about what you need and how you're feeling. Make your requests known to him. And now for our prayer. God, I ask for protection over my heart. I want to be willing to let go of things that are not your will for me so that I can make room for the things that you do have prepared for me. Guard me from any thoughts, relationships, or beliefs that are not from you. In Jesus' name, amen. I tell you, those always align with what we're going to be talking about for the week. Okay. And so let's get into our first question. So these questions, these next three episodes actually are coming from you, and you'll be able to find these questions. Since I saw you, it's been, yeah, I haven't seen you for 3 weeks. So we do have quite a bit to catch up on. First of all, I want to thank you for 15,000 views. Last time I came on, I think we were at 9,000, and I said I was going to figure out what to do for the 10,000, but I surpassed 10,000 before it was time to come back on and record. So here we are. But I just want to thank you so much for your support. I couldn't have gotten here without you. And if you're in this game of entrepreneurship and social media, I just want to encourage you to keep going, stay persistent and consistent. If you are persistent and consistent, your business will grow. That is a fact. And every week, hear messages that reaffirm that. That is 100% fact. Is the work hard? It's not as hard as you think, but it is more challenging than you think. Even going live, always second guess it. But here we are. And it's like, oh, it's just so easy. Just go say you're going to go live. But it's hard to understand if you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, in addition to this channel, we have the Mahogany Dermatology blog for you. We release new articles every week, complimentary free resources to help you. That's really more clinical than I tend to get here on the YouTube channel. And since I saw you, so actually, at the time that if you're with me on Batch Content Day, this does not apply to you. But tomorrow, on April 28th, we're going to be releasing our latest reflection article for the Mahogany Telederm internship experience with Jade Trevino. Every month, we release a reflection article on the things that we're learning. So you'll see the March reflection. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, entrepreneurship is tough, right? Time and capital are limited. But at the same time that you need help, because if you stay consistent and persistent, your business will grow. There's someone out here who wants exposure and who's willing to lend their time and talent. And so it's my recommendation to entrepreneurs to start your own internship. And so that's what I did. And me and Jade are sharing our experience with you, what we've learned, what we recommend. And then at the end of the year, we're going to have all of our lessons into an ebook that you can use that's action packed so that you can implement it in your own setting with your own specialty, with your own goals. And so you don't have to Google your life away, because we already know time is limited. We want you to be able to do something you can just take off with. And so, yeah, at the time that you're watching us, tomorrow, there'll be a new article in there. And then we'll do some updates at the end. We have the Mahogany Dermatology shop with the newest book is coming soon. And then you can join us. You can be part of the community. We have the DMV Dermatology NPPA group and Derm NPs and PAs of Atlanta. These are networking groups for NPs and PAs who practice or aspire to practice in medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology. Those links are in the description box. And as I'm filming this, it's just a few days away from the SDNP conference, or the Society of Dermatology Nurse Practitioners. It's their annual conference out there in Indian Wells, California. I went on all my social media platforms right now to let everybody know that I was going on live so that you could be part of this. And when I went to Facebook, I saw in our DMV group that Annie asked, what is a cosmetic workshop? And so a cosmetic workshop at a conference in particular is where you get a chance, someone's going to typically do a live demonstration on a model. Depending if they're licensed in that state, they can actually do, like, say, for instance, injections, filler, Botox. Depending on how extensive the workshop is, you might have a cadaver. You might need to get into some anatomy. It might be more business focused, where they talk about the business itself, or people just ask questions about startup and cost and how to acquire staff and supplies and recommendations on whether they should go full-time or part-time, concierge, how to get in, how to get their first job. So yeah, that's what a cosmetic workshop is. At a medical dermatology conference, you might have different workshops. Dermoscopy is one, which I have either talked about on here or written on the blog, but it's essentially a polarized magnetic lens that allows you to view things in more detail. And so if you use it on the body, they call it dermoscopy. If you use it on the scalp, they call it trichoscopy. So that's one workshop, because that can help you really distinguish between benign and malignant lesions and so it can reduce the number of biopsies, right? Or it can help you identify which patients need to be triaged a little bit sooner. And then you might have a surgical workshop where you might, depending on the workshop, it could be like fake models. Oh, I have a model. Maybe for the next video, I'll go grab it and bring it. But so you can practice at home. And so it might look like just a slab of skin, or if it's at a conference, I've had apples, pigs, anything that you might have in any sort of animal that you can dissect on so that you can practice your suturing skills. So you can practice slicing, incisions, and then suturing different techniques. And usually they're about an hour. There might be a basic and there might be an advanced version. And then your cosmetic workshop. So I think that covers the three at a medical derm conference. So I was invited to be a speaker somewhere else. And so I decided not to go to this conference. So I have an extra ticket for the cosmetic workshop. So if you're watching this in real time, so that's either Saturday or Sunday, maybe all the way up until the conference starts. But the workshop itself is Thursday morning. So that's May 8th. So if you're gonna no, May 1st. If you're gonna be there May 1st by the morning and you want this ticket, you gotta let me know so I can let them know. Otherwise, it's either going to go to waste or they're going to find someone else who's going to take it. I really, really want a student to have it. So if you are a student, I would love to hear from you, not only so I can give you this ticket, but so I can hear about your experience. Hi, Jade. Good to see you. So Jade's here, and she's going to be our moderator. Okay, let's get into the first point. The first one is starting part-time with purpose. Let me just say this. You don't have to quit your job to prove you're to prove you're serious. In fact, some of the most successful aesthetic NPs that I've mentored or that who are just my peers and my friends started by seeing, and even outside of aesthetics, seeing clients 2 days a week while still working their full-time job, either at the hospital or outpatient or telehealth. This gives you the opportunity financially and mentally to build up your brand, refine your services, see if you even like working in aesthetics before you take the full leap. Start with a pilot mindset, test your systems, test your needs, test your pricing, and watch what works. So I love this point because you don't have to. So when it comes to nursing and cosmetics in particular, um, nurses really can start at any point, right? I know that there are nurses there are people who are who are on the beauty side, right? They're going to cosmetology school. And maybe that's what they were exposed to, might be an easier entry, a quicker point to starting work. And then at some point, they might transition, decide they want to go into nursing, want to be able to do more, right? That's what they said. We have a nurse who might start in like an AD program, LVN, CNA, LPN, and they know they're going to work. They might want to work their way all the way up. Maybe they don't know that in the beginning, but over the course of time and through their clinical practice, they do that. And so they might start off on the side, and there's nothing wrong with that because everyone has different goals. You might be in school. I know a lot of you are starting a family, wanting to start a family, or you already have a family and they're pretty young still. And so it just doesn't make sense for you time wise, financially wise, to be able to just start something, to leave your full-time job. Um, and so that could be a really good option for you. And when we say it might be a good way to start, so you might do this for like 3 or 6 months, but someone else might do this for 3 or 6 years, right? Just because of their life circumstances. It's totally fine. I think what's most important is that you know why you want to do this and what is your end goal, and then work your way backwards, right? And also learning what it is you're getting into, the industry itself, what steps you need to take to practice, and just to practice, but then also if you want to get into business, what are those steps? Because even though you might not be able to go full time in your practice, you can be practicing part time, you can be learning part time, or you could be practicing part time, learning full time, or maybe you're not in a position to practice yet, and this is where you can really invest a lot of your time learning because there's so much to learn, so many layers to practicing. So just nursing practice, then you add on a specialty aesthetics, and most people will say before you can even get to specialty, you should really have a solid foundation in internal medicine, general medicine. So think about the years that takes. So now you add on the specialty, and then you add on business, entrepreneurship, then you add on having other people, teams. So it's so many layers, and you can be learning these things right now. Just like when you make investments into your bank account, you can make investments into your learning, and you get that compound interest in your learning that we also talk about when it comes to finances. And so it's not even just the thinking I want to do it, it's the talking about it, being able to build up your language and your confidence, especially because you're going to enter a very competitive market. How are you going to stand out? How are you going to sell yourself and your confidence if the same day that you start talking about what you're doing is the day you started doing it, right? Because remember, you can get called on, and we're going to do more of these kind of conversations, how to leverage your intellectual property. You can get called on to do something way before you ever pick up a syringe, just because of how much time you invest in understanding the industry and how you can leverage your expertise in there. Okay. The second point is knowing your numbers. Before you even think about going full time, you need to know your numbers. And so this is where you can take out your notebook and ask yourself some questions. What is your break even point? Like, how much do you need to make before you can feel comfortable stepping out? So this comes down to your monthly salary and benefits. How much do you really need per month? Not only how much do you need to make, like how much do you wish to make, but also how much are you earning now, right? And this brings to the question your personal finances. We'll get back to that. And when you think about these numbers, are you also thinking about taxes and rent, product and insurance, right? The aesthetic revenue is inconsistent. If you don't have a system, consistency comes from strategy, not hope. So many NPs leave too soon and then scramble because they leave their full-time job too soon because they underestimated how long it would take to build predictable income. And that's really that's the goal. You need to have a predictable income. And so this helps the argument why you need to know how to leverage your intellectual property and the things you already have, because you might not always be able to predict your patient unless you have membership, some kind of subscription model where you know you're going to get 100 patients in the door every month because you've already taken their money, right, for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So that could be predictable. Or you could have something else that you're offering. Like ebooks, courses, master classes, or you're renting your address, renting out space in your office for other people to use to take care of their clients, or for pictures and video, right? You have all our telehealth peers. They don't have this set up, right? You can, just like people go rent Airbnbs, there's a website called Pure Space. You can create a nice little aesthetically pleasing place in your brick and mortar and rent that space out. On Pure Space, it's by the hour, so that's better than Airbnb. And if you put yourself in rooms where all the telehealth business owners are, even outside of aesthetics, you could probably have some more predictable income there too, particularly if you set them on a lease, if you will, for the address. So that could be some predictable income. And so your numbers and so this is where I think the most important thing to mention is your personal finances. So let's talk about some resources. So I talked about systems. So my favorite book is going to be Systemology. Let me make some notes to myself so I can add these for you guys later. So that's going to help you out, because you hear me say systems, you don't really know what that means. What that kind of means is, like, anyone should be able to come behind you, do this, carry out the same steps or pretty similar to get the same outcome, right? That's McDonald's, right? That's any chain. No matter what no matter what location I go to for this particular chain, I should have a very similar experience and get the same outcome. You can do that in your business when you create that. If you're not there yet, you can start to practice and build that muscle. So maybe you work on a unit, and maybe you're going to create your own skincare team or part of the wound care team, whatever team you're on, or you can create. If you're in a magnet facility, you can have practice councils and say, how can we automate some of these steps? Even Alicia, who's with me on the Melanin Initiative podcast, she did what at the hospital that we worked at. They have like a capstone, which is like it's a research project, nurse research, if you will. And she just identified a problem, right? If you watch this channel, that just sounds so familiar. You identify a problem and you identify a solution. And a lot of times we can go to the research to find these solutions, and we just modify them for the setting that we're implementing it. So for her research, we should probably have her do this on the show. She created she found it's like an algorithm to do the scheduling, an acuity algorithm, because before what was there was the senior nurses would put their friends, they would give them the best patients, right? So either they were like walkie-talkie or close to so they didn't have to do a lot of walking. Some units they have where you get all the patients in geography. So you get the first 5 and they get the next 5 and so on and so on. But the first 5 might be like the sickest patients on the unit. So just by the nature of them being grouped together, you have the heaviest load. So this acuity tool would break it down so that it's more objective than subjective. So, it wasn't, anyway, change is change, right? And it takes time for people to get used to change. But that was something that she implemented. So that's a muscle she's already building, right? This is something you can do. And if you want help figuring this out, let me know. I have it in one of my books. I think it's From Bedside to Dermatology, a step-by-step guide for nurses and how wherever you're working, long-term care, hospital, outpatient, home health, how you can start to get exposure to what it is you're looking for. And this is everything from systems, leadership, communication, even dermatology. Okay. So I talked about that. So now we're going to talk about your personal finances. This is where we have the Budgetista. I love this book. It's a simple book, and she just helps you break down your budget using an Excel sheet. In the book, I bought the ebook. I think I have the ebook because you can go in there, you can see the actual tables that she's talking about, and basically you go back over the last year, or you can go back the last 6 months. A year is recommended, and you see all your expenses, you itemize them and put them into categories so you can see how much you spend every single month, quarter, and year, and then you put them into different categories. So, like fixed, like your rent or your mortgage, or insurance, cell phone, cable, so that's fixed. Variable, so things that kind of fluctuate. So, like utilities, maybe gas, depending on where you live and how much you drive. So things that fluctuate, and then savings, investments, and then of course spending. Anyway, it's a really good book. It's made for the beginner, and it took me maybe 2 weeks to do like the whole year. But I think that's really realistic. And if you don't have anything else going on, or you want to take your PTO to help set yourself, kind of restructure your life, which is my recommendation. All PTO doesn't always have to be on the beach. It can be an opportunity for you to jumpstart your life or take your life in a different trajectory. And that could be opening up this book and getting your personal finances in order and learning some of the language, right? The different kind of accounts you can put your money in, how quickly you can take them out, the importance of having an emergency fund, how to calculate that emergency fund, the importance of investment. What kind of investments can you make? What does it mean to have a bear market? What does it mean to be aggressive? What does it mean to diversify? Where are all the places you can invest? What does it actually mean to have an investment? Credible resources, just like we tell our patients, and then professionals who are out here to help you. There's people who want to help you. Everything from financial advisors to CPA to business and tax strategists. So take the time to do that. So if you are not in a position where you're able to work full time, you can be learning because there's so much learning to do. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed. And I want you to be really confident about what it is that you think you know so that you can explain it to someone else. So I think those are the numbers that are most important. And then when you move on and you're ready to start figuring out the numbers for your business or your side hustle, then there's some more credible resources that you can use. I like Investopedia, and that's what it's kind of just like what it says, kind of like oh gosh, I don't know. Does everyone even still know what an encyclopedia is anymore? But anyway, it's a really great resource, and it breaks down all the information really easy for you to understand. And that's a good one. I think NerdWallet's a good one too. And then, of course, we all love the Small Business Administration. Tons of free resources, not only for small businesses, but even more specific for groups like women and people of color. And a lot of it's free. My mom utilized multiple sessions with someone that you would otherwise be paying for. But they also have written resources that you can read in between your shifts or while you're doing other things. So that's all about knowing your numbers. If this is helping you think more strategically about your aesthetic career, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. These videos are designed to help you grow your business and your mindset at the same time. Don't forget to leave a message in the comments. Let us know resources that have helped you, particularly when it comes to personal finance. I think that's the biggest one. Not only is it good for you to know if at any point in time you want to get venture capitalists, so that's someone who invests in your business, or a loan, they're going to want to look, even when you set up your LLC, especially if it's like your first one, you have nothing, they have nothing else to compare it to but your personal finances. So that's where it becomes even more important. It's not really just about what you know, it's what other people are going to think. Okay, our last point is redefine what success looks for you. We've talked about this a little bit and kind of on a weekly basis. Why do you even want to go full time? Is it for the freedom, the flexibility, the impact, identity? You don't need to quit your job to achieve those things. In fact, staying part time in a clinical role may allow you to take more risk when it comes to your aesthetic practice. I've had clients and peers who built businesses while they were still doing things like working, teaching, doing PRN, starting their family. Because they wanted to diversify their lifestyle, right? Not everybody wants a $5 million business, as I've said many times. Some people just want an extra 25,000, maybe 50,000, and and they like working for someone else. They like the security that it brings. I have my own opinions about entrepreneurship and financial freedom. But you know what? You don't have to spend your time convincing other people of your beliefs or what you think is the best course of action. Just meet them where they are and help them take action where they are. You define what success looks like. Don't let Instagram decide for you. And so we've talked about the same thing from the beginning, right? You look at what else you have going on in your life and how. Actually, this is the same advice I give people going to nursing school. Don't just think about, okay, what's the schedule going to be like for school? How am I going to squeeze this into my work schedule? But who else is going to support you, right? Financially, if you're going to be in clinical, you won't be able to work full time. Do you have that financial support? Do you have the people? If you have children, do you have childcare? Do you have backup childcare? Do you have PTO so you can take off, study for exams, work on group projects, do presentations? If you're in a long distance learning program and you have to be on campus twice a year or three times throughout the program, will you be able to get away and do that? Does your job offer any kind of reimbursement or tuition reimbursement to support your goals? What are the actual numbers for the school you want to go to or the course or training program you plan to work for? Put that in your budget, right? Have hard numbers, real numbers, and whatever you think that number is, add a little bit extra because life always happens. And then look for scholarships. There's a lot of professional organizations, particularly in nursing, that continue to give out scholarships. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for another way to diversify your income, right? Because the more money you make, the more taxes you owe. So the wealthier you get, people find places to put their money. That's where scholarships come from, foundations. Charitable donations, philanthropic foundations, because they need to put their money somewhere. And a lot of times people put it in real estate, but really you can put it anywhere where you can see that it's going to grow and you're going to get a return on that investment. Where that means you get more than you put in, right? But yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, this is something you can do, right? We all want to give back, and of course, at the end of the day, it does help us tax wise. Like I said, test the waters. This is probably the biggest thing in nursing because it's not, you hear like, oh, well, it's okay. I don't want to go to school to be a doctor. Maybe it's too long. Maybe I don't have the grades for it. And everyone just assumes nursing is very easy, maybe because there's 5 million of us. And they get in there and they're very shocked about it because they don't really know what they signed up for. I know that because I know I didn't know what I was signing up for. Not just as a nurse, not really so much as a nurse, but as an NP, I think I didn't really understand. And that's a lot of us, right? Because we're watching things on TV or we have a family member. So many of you will say, oh, my mom's a nurse, my sister's a nurse. And so I'm gonna do it too, but I don't know how transparent they're being because honestly, if you listen to me talk about it, I don't think you would wanna do this. So I don't know that you know what you're getting into, and that's why shadowing is so important. Having a mentor and taking the long road can be very beneficial for a lot of people, because what happens on the other end of that is now you've invested all this time and money. Other people have invested their time, money, and hope, and then if you decide you don't like it, it becomes really challenging for you to want to change. And so sometimes people stay in things just because of the how hard it is to change and the disappointment, not only for themselves, but for their loved ones and the people who supported them. Um, and sometimes that becomes because we just jumped in too fast and too quickly because we didn't explore other options, right? And I have a article coming out in May that's going to give you some more ideas when it comes to entrepreneurship and aesthetics. Just like I had that playlist on, it's like different ideas in dermatology that you can do, different ways you can specialize in dermatology. And there's a playlist too, how to get your first job in dermatology. It's in that playlist. There's so many ways that you can practice especially specialty or contribute to it. Even if you look at our friends in the beauty industry, right? Our cosmetic chemists, we're all taking care of the same people, and essentially helping them get the same outcome, right? And so those are adjacent industries, but still part of the same having the same impact. And that comes from research and networking and getting out there and exploring and asking questions, being curious, maintaining that spirit of curiosity. So I think when it comes to this and redefining what success looks like, remember it's beyond what you do with your hands. It can literally be anything. And if you remove limiting beliefs, age, time being a factor, money being a factor, being smart about it, what would you do, right? Are you doing this because it just looks like easy money or fun money? Because there's a lot of ways to make money. But the best thing is always to look for the people you're here to serve and show up and serve them every day. And everything else comes after that, probably more than you can imagine. That's going to wrap up our 3 points. I want to hear from you. Are you thinking about transitioning into aesthetics full time, or are you already juggling both? Let us know in the comments and let me know where you are in your journey. Remember, this isn't about quitting your job. It's about building a business that aligns with your life. Start part time, master the business side. Who knows? You might identify another problem in the industry that's going to help people keep their business afloat. That's what I'm doing, right? I love being on this side. If you don't know, I have this little analogy where it's like you have your football player, right? They're always the one on the TV, right? As far as you know, we know their names, we know where they're from, we know their stats, we know where they went to high school, right? They are getting all the attention. That's the NP, right? All of us, wherever we work, we've seen them. It just seems like the next thing, right? Even in nursing school, it's just it seems like the next thing. And you play and you do that for a while. Then after a while, you think, you know what? Maybe I want to be the one calling the shots, right? So then you start looking at the coach. You're like, oh, what's his job like? What's her job like? And then we think about entrepreneurship, where we get to call the shots, right? And because you get a different vantage point on this game that we're all playing. And then one day I was like, you know what? There wouldn't be any football players. There wouldn't be a coach if there wasn't a stadium. Maybe I should be the lady who builds the stadium. And so if you're new here, that's who I am. I'm the lady building the stadium. And that all came from the advice I just gave you. Just being in the room, asking a lot of questions. Um, yeah, asking a lot of questions and I didn't necessarily plan to take my time, but I have gratitude for the time that it took because it helped to refine the vision and it helped me to see the bigger impact I could have that's actually bigger than me, which makes it that much more fun and that much more impactful because it will last longer than me, which is really the goal, which is more satisfying than what I had originally envisioned. So if you like this video or you feel confident about your next steps, go check out um, this is actually the first video of a new playlist called, it's like the aesthetic playlist. So I'll add this to that video. And so you can keep an eye on that. That's where they'll all go. All my videos are under the live tab because like I said, I do go live. And so you'll be over there. If you want any written resources, you can go over to the Mahogany Dermatology blog. Since I've seen you the last time, I've posted 2 articles on aesthetics specifically related to Allergan. One was about their Dream Initiative. This is addressing those gaps in skin of color when it comes to education, who's in the room, marketing, and even patient education. They actually pour a lot of resources into that, at least at the time that the article was published, which was kind of at a time where those initiatives were a priority. Things have and will continue to shift, as you know. And then I did a follow-up to that on their report. And it was really detailed. I want to say they interviewed over 4,000 women, getting their opinions on beauty, especially women of color, and how they define beauty and how they think other people identify their beauty. And I talk about the implications when it comes to nursing. And I'll continue to give you detailed ideas for DMP project ideas and PhD nurse-led research, as well as my entrepreneur friends, ideas on how you can be in the industry as an entrepreneur without seeing patients. That is an option. That is a real option, friends. So yeah, that's the nursing aesthetic. Oh yeah. Okay, so the articles are how Allergan's Dream Initiative is shaping skin of color for aesthetic MPs, then reimagining aesthetics for nurse practitioners. And then I didn't post it on the blog, but in our DMV group, I had shared a report on aesthetic industry experiences traumatic consolidation. So this is a huge report talking about the shifts in revenue year over year. So for a very long time, probably forever, you could say the aesthetics industry had always been making more money each year up until last year. I think it was last year. Finally, they started to see a decline. And except in the area of cosmeceuticals. So if you're really trying to get a footing, you don't go where the puck is. You go where the puck is going. So go find out where the puck is headed. And then since I last saw you, I announced my latest book, Nursing Aesthetics, an Introductory Guide for Nurse Practitioners and Entrepreneurs. It's not available yet, but it has been written. The cover has been selected. It will be available very, very soon. But what you can do is sign up for the wait list. And those of you who sign up for the wait list, I will send you my complimentary PDF on the 10 scalable and repeat revenue streams every aesthetic and derm should know. And I shared some of those during this episode. But that's another way to show you how you can leverage your intellectual property now and later. And not only your intellectual property, but the things within your disposal. You already have experience. You already have an opinion, a perspective, and influence. You already have it. You've already mastered some things that you can align with aesthetics or just where you're at right now. Wherever you are, someone wants to be there. Okay. The journey has multiple steps. You might be over here, but look at all the steps you've already accomplished. You can help someone. And while you're helping them, you can monetize your intellectual property. So that's why that guide is put together. And I'd be happy to send that to you if you sign up for the wait list. And you can do that by just sending me an email through the blog. That's the easiest way. Well, look, 35 minutes. I did it. I've been trying to be more consistent with my time. So I'm going to sign off here. You're going to go check out, actually, if you're batch content day, you're going to stay with me. And we'll be back for the second episode. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.